There is always that one character in every single manga or anime that, because of their reputation amongst their peers, that it grants them an enormous prestige in the power scaling and versus debates communities, or even general fandom as well. Characters like Goku, Zeref, or Gojo, they're considered some of the most powerful entities in their respective works, and are often pitted against characters from other series, or even entire series by themselves. Julius Novachrono, the Wizard King of the Clover Kingdom within Black Clover, is one of these characters. And with the recent events happening in the Black Clover manga, and his soul brother, Lucius Sagratis, being the true big bad, and by far the strongest character in the universe, Julius has been getting brought up a lot more, and this is for good reason. So today I want to tell you how strong Julius Novachrono is. First, I want to show you how he stacks up against other characters in the Black Clover universe, as well as determining his stats like speed, attack potency, and durability, so you can see how he compares against characters from other series. It's been a long time since I did a power scale based solely on Julius, but I'm really excited for this one. So first we gotta discuss the elephant in the room. This video. Man, I've been saying for years how weak Julius is, and Tabata comes out of nowhere and wrecks me. But I already know that a lot of my audience is going to be against any sort of Julius power upgrade because of my arguments in the past. So what I'm going to do is build up Julius and attack some of my old arguments with the new information that has been provided. So the grounds for Julius always having been so strong is that he's the fucking Wizard King. He's of the highest military rank in the Clover Kingdom. Not only that, but there are numerous statements that he is the strongest and even well above the captains. Now the issue stems from the idea that feats are greater than statements, and Julius really didn't have very many feats, and his essential main showing was him struggling in a fight against base Patri. Patri was able to damage Julius, and Julius was not able to catch Patri to bind him. This means that Julius's durability and speed was subpar, despite his hack's attack power being broken. The reason why this made the Wizard King feel weak is because this Patri became a weak version of himself just chapters later, as Patri would get his elf form, which is a many times amp in magic power. We know this because Longhorse got a small fraction of his elven power, and made himself more than 2 times stronger. Patri would also get his Dark Elf form, which again made him several times stronger and faster. And both captains and non-captains alike still performed impressively against Dark Elf Patri, despite the massive power jump, which made me and people think that Julius really wasn't that strong all along, if he actually struggled with base Patri. Okay, you guys ready for my old argument to come crashing down? Let's go. First off, it's been revealed that Julius shares a body with Lucius, who looks just like him and has black hair. Lucius is actually the eldest brother of the Dark Triad Sagratis siblings, and he has used time magic and his own innate soul magic to make everything go according to plan. Julius meeting Yami and William, that was just to get their dark and world tree magic to create the Tree of Qliphoth that allowed Lucifero to come into the world. Austin, going to the dungeon to grow stronger, and eventually get to the point where they could take down Lucifero, that was just so Lucius could eat Lucifero's heart and gain his powers. We already know that Lucius manipulates Julius with soul magic, as he made Julius forget about the dual spirit body, and even shows him hiding him away here. So it's likely that he was forcing Julius to hold back in his fight against Patri. Because if Patri hadn't won, then there would be no need for anything after this to happen, and Lucius doesn't get to steal Lucifero's power, and his plans never go accordingly. So Julius himself wasn't just holding back his killing spell on Patri so he didn't ruin William's body, but Lucius was likely manipulating his soul to let him get away. The fact that Julius should have been able to body Patri is supported by various feats and statements, as well as stuff from the light novels. These novels are canon. Not only did Tabata say so in volumes, but also in the guidebook he refers to them as canon as well. So these feats can act as measurements for Julius, which I wish I had access to back when I made this video, because if I had known of these feats from the light novels, I likely would not have made that video. Anyways, not only are there more statements backing up that Julius is the strongest magic knight and above the captains, but he performed feats that massively surpassed them. Like just days before the Elf Arc, Julius, in his base form, and without even using Mana Zone, can blitz all of the captains at once. In the light novel, Julius forced the captains into a training exercise, where they are fighting and struggling against the magic golems. Yet, Julius casually activates his time orbs around all of them before the captains or the golems can react. Even Nozel is there, which means he actually scales well above Nozel in base, which means if Julius wasn't held back by Lucius, he would have bodied Patri. It wouldn't even been close. There's also another feat that takes place just days before the Elf arc as well, where Julius blitzes Yuno, Charlotte, Jack, other captains, by casually trapping them in a time orb before they can even react. So when you take in the full context, 1. Julius has several feats where he casually blitzes Nozel days prior to the Elf arc, and 2. He has another soul inside of him, manipulating him, using time magic to foresee the future and make everything go according to his plan. Well then, yeah, if Lucius wasn't a part of the equation, Julius would have blitzed Patri even in his base form, let alone with the monozone multiplier. Not only that, but he would have been able to low-diff all of the Elf arc captains in his base, and Zagred would have been a fly that Julius would have swatted away with his arcane time magic. But Julius has even more lore and feats that go into supporting how strong he is. Like in the anime canon, Lolopechka actually says that Julius and Yami are both so strong that they would not need to train with the Heart Kingdom. Keep in mind that Julius is a 13-year-old with a single page of his grimoire at that time, and yet he's still considered strong enough to be mentioned in the same breath as Yami. Yami being someone at that point who is stated to have gained transcendental power from training in the time skip. Yami was already relative to Zagred prior to this for being able to fight him and damage him, so Julius being comparable is insane. A 13-year-old Julius with a single page in his grimoire can body Zagred? What's next? Even if you somehow don't agree, there is still far more to support Julius's insane true power. There was a few things in the Spade Saga that helped this, like when Yami was fighting 60% Dante, Yami actually said that his own reaction times were not on the level of Julius yet. This would be insane if he was referring to teenager Julius, which is technically possible, considering Lolopechka had considerable knowledge on the Clover Kingdom's power and still considered Julius and Yami comparable. But this statement is likely referring to what Yami knew Julius as in his prime, which would also prove that Julius was nerfed by Lucius in his encounter with Patri, as if Julius had the reaction time to the speed of 60% Dante being over 60 times faster than his base self being faster than Black Divider Asta being far faster than Dark Elf Patri, who dwarfs base Patri speed. Then yeah, base Patri, even on his best day, could not come close to tagging an unleashed Wizard King. But there's a feat that went under all of our noses that I only discovered shortly after I made this video. It is in the Spade Saga when the Ancient Demon attacks the Clover Kingdom. This is a scene that combines both feat and statements to establish that Julius is insanely powerful. While everyone else is failing to slow down the beast, Damnatio attempts to weaken it, but he says that this magic is far too vast, it can't negate it completely. The only way to fight phenomenal magic is to strike back with magic that's equally phenomenal. And then, Julius negates the Ancient Demon's attack. Not only does Julius Time Orb negate the demon spell, but when paired with the statement, it means that Julius's magic is equal to the Spade Demon's. The Spade Demon is a character strong enough to where Asta, post-contract with Liba, and post-training with Noct, can't even negate his spell with Black Form 2 Black Divider. Keep in mind that a much weaker, stamina-depraved Asta without Black Divider was 80% Dante level, and this was not even a prime Julius. The prime Julius that we know is 42 years old, and this Julius only advanced his age by 10 years, making him 24 years old, not even close to his prime, and he wasn't even portrayed to use his Mana Zone, which grants a massive increase in power and speed. So a base 24-year-old Julius, who is not even close to his prime, has power that far surpasses the 80% Dark Triad. I just want to plug my memberships on this channel, guys. If you really want to help support this channel and help me produce more videos more often, because I know a lot of you guys have been asking for more videos, well, if you want more of them, please become a member. Not only will you be getting perks like an additional 1 or 2 videos exclusive to you per month if you are a normal member, and Wizard King level members will be getting even more than that. You also will get cool emotes. You'll get your name highlighted in the comments, essentially guaranteeing a reply in the comments. And you also get other additional perks as well that'll be outlined in this menu here. Also, guys, it's been a long time since I made a Julius Power Scale video, and the last time the video did really well and it got 4,000 likes, but Black Clover is way more popular now, and my channel is way bigger, so let's shoot for 5,000 likes on this video. That would be greatly appreciated. One more thing, please check out my webtoon called 9 Fates and 9 Fates the Prequel. Both of them will be linked below in the description. But anyways, all of this scaling so far was to build up to Julius's true greatest level of power. This comes from the start of Black Clover's third part, in chapter 333. Lucius Sagradas confronts Asta, and Lucius warns Asta by saying that he's stronger than Julius. And Asta says, right here, right now, I will surpass the Wizard King. Lucius' statement acts as an implication that him being stronger than Julius holds weight, and that Julius is a strong character. And Asta's statement, in turn, means that his semi-devil union form is lesser than Julius. Now, a lot of people find this contentious, but I don't really see why we wouldn't take these two statements as fact, especially because of the importance of the scene. And if a base 24-year-old Julius can scale above the 80% triad, then why couldn't a full power prime Julius be stronger than semi-devil union Asta or base Lucius? People will argue that Asta can't sense how strong characters' magic are, like against Nihilith, and this means that his statement can't be considered, but this is actually inconsistent in the verse, as he was able to determine the level of Lucifero's magic power, but also, he's been able to determine the power of characters before just by seeing how strong they are whilst fighting, and he's seen Julius fight, so it's possible that in those instances that he actually saw Julius display his true power. Regardless, Julius also has a feat of being at least comparable to base Lucius, as Lucius states that the reason that he can make these time orbs so big is because he absorbed Lucifero's power. Yet, Julius in the manga, as a 24-year-old in base, can make time orbs that are relative in size, and possibly even greater, as the ancient demon, his hand should be like at least building size since he's like the size of the capital, at the very least likely even way bigger, and yet his time orbs cover his hand. And also in the light novel, Prime Julius actually covers an entire battlefield with time magic, which would actually be even greater than Lucius as well. Which I would actually believe this to be consistent, even though Lucius says he's stronger than Julius. I interpret that statement that Paladin Lucius is above Julius, but his base power is weaker than Julius. This is because while Lucius says he's stronger than Julius, and Asta says he needs to surpass him, Asta is actually winning the fight against base Lucius, only losing once he transforms into his Paladin form. This puts Julius as one of the strongest in the verse, because even base Lucius is a menace, as base Lucius absorbed all of 100% Lucifero's power and his physical strength. We know this because he needed half of Lucifero's heart because he wasn't powerful enough to overcome Lucifero himself. But with half of Lucifero's power, he invaded the underworld and bodied 50% Lucifero in base, and then ate the other half of his heart. Eating half of Lucifero's heart allowed him to surpass 50% Lucifero, then eating all of Lucifero's heart would allow his base to surpass 100% Lucifero. So yeah, a time spell from base Lucius packed Lucifero. And then Lucius ate his heart and then spent 15 months getting stronger by invading the entirety of the underworld and likely stealing the power of every devil. As we know, he even stole Beelzebub's spatial magic. So it's likely that base Lucius is actually several times stronger than 100% Lucifero, and yet Julius is still above him. It's just that Paladin Lucius is above Julius. I know people argue that Lucifero was wounded here, but even Lucifero said it shouldn't matter because his magic is so strong. And devils have a different physiology from humans. They can attack and still be quite strong, even when their bodies are not. Like how Zagred, while partially manifested in a chubby priest's body, could casually bind Lumiere. And Magicula, with her body nearly obliterated, could create a spell strong enough to stop people relative to her from attacking, like what she did with Noelle. So Lucifero not having his full body doesn't really matter, because he still had half of his magic power. What this means is that the true power of Prime Julius is far greater than even 100% Lucifero's. Meaning that if he were present in that final battle against Lucifero, Julius would likely just body him, because he'd be well more than twice as strong and twice as fast as him. The only contentions that I can think of to Julius being this strong is people say that Lucius was not using Lucifero's power until he used a pseudo-devil union and then purified that devil power to create his paladin form. But that doesn't actually add up, because that devil form had antlers, which Lucifero doesn't have. He has horns. Lucius was actually likely using Astaroth's power and then purifying it. Another contention is that if Julius was actually stronger than 100% Lucifero, then Lucius would have just manipulated him to defeat him for him. But I don't buy that, because we already know that Lucius's ability to manipulate Julius with his soul magic is limited. He can sway him and manipulate him, but he doesn't have complete control of him, so that possible counterpoint does not work out either. So that's the inverse scaling for Julius. He's in the top 3 right now as of chapter 336, with Paladin Lucius and True Devil Union Asta likely being above him. But with that being said, how does he stack up against other verses? Could he beat Goku though? I'm going to go over 3 possible scaling metas for Julius. A low end, a mid-level, and high-end scaling. I personally believe that all of them are viable ways of scaling Julius, though I often prefer the low end because it is the most grounded way of scaling Julius and Black Clover as a whole, even if it necessarily is not the most cogent compared to the mid or high end. So let's start with the low end for Julius. I'll cover his attack potency, speed, durability, and even his abilities. I'll be starting with attack potency. Now, while Julius's time magic is hacks, that should not limit him, at least it should not limit his attack potency. For example, if he used reinforcement magic and then he punched somebody, that would still be his attack potency. Sure, a straight up time beam would be hacks, but he still would have attack potency via reinforcement magic. But before that, I want to bring up how magic power increases lead to linear increases in both speed and attack potency. Like say, if someone increases their magic power by 3 times, they would be 3 times stronger, 3 times more durable, and 3 times faster. We know this because of Zora's traps. They double the power of magic via doubling its size, and in turn, it doubles the power of the magic and its speed. Meaning that by doubling the power of magic, speed is doubled. Even more evidence is that Magna had 500 times less magic power than Dante. The Soul Chain equalized their power and allowed them to have an incredibly close fight. Equalizing their magic power made them equal in speed, attack potency, and durability. This is also consistent with unquantifiable magic increases across the series, that when somebody gets way stronger in magic power, they also got way faster, way more powerful, and way more durable as well. This is important information because we know that Julius has greater magic power than base Lucius. Base Lucius being someone who absorbed the power of 100% Lucifero, likely many other devils, and got way stronger over 15 months. So Julius scales above 100% Lucifero, but how strong is Lucifero? What can he do? Well, in terms of straight up feats, he didn't display much destructive power, and we also never saw him at his full power anyways. But in lore, Noct believes that if Lucifero were to be fully manifested, the world would be destroyed. Furthermore, the spirit guardian Flaga says, "The world will," and then his statement gets cut off. This is an implication that Lucifero at 100% power would be planetary, as the world would be destroyed. And while sure, his statement does get cut off, but if we are being consistent here, the majority of the people watching this video takes this statement from Lumiere as country level, where he cuts himself off and does not finish his own statement. In that context, the Spirit Guardian gives out a planetary statement if we are being consistent between the two statements. Even Lucifero himself mentions that he's going to kill every single human on the planet, which isn't a direct planetary statement, but it is a possible interpretation. And paired with the other planetary statements, it becomes a lot more of a sound argument. While planet level may sound wacky for Black Clover, it's actually pretty well supported in the series. Like, even early series characters like Jack the Ripper has a few planet-splitting statements. The energy required to split a planet in half is at least multi-continental. And if characters like Jack in the beginning of the series, who would be fodder right now, are multi-continental, it makes it way more likely that Lucifero would be planetary. Characters far weaker than Lucifero like Dorothy can create moons in her glamour world. Remember that what she envisions in her world is the real version of what they structurally are. So if she envisions a moon, she is creating an actual moon, the moon that she should at least visualize or see in her own world, which would be like the Black Clover moon. So if she can create 2 moons and she is far weaker than Lucifero, then it makes it way more likely Lucifero is planetary. And creation feats can scale to attack potency when a universal energy system is used, since it actually does require more energy to create things than to destroy them. There's a lot more backing this though, like how Demon Licht is at least multi-continental since he was going to life wipe the planet of Black Clover. There are numerous statements that humanity was nearly killed off and that Lumiere saved them. People say that, oh, this would have been over time. Well, no, it said that humanity was nearly wiped out, and it was Lumiere who essentially blocked and absorbed the attack that was going to do so. So Lumiere absorbed the power of the attack that was going to life wipe humanity, yet was still weaker than Zagred later on. The energy required to have your attack spread around a planet and kill its population is multi-continental. The gap between multi-continental and planetary is several thousand times, but Lucifero, with a fraction of his power, was many times stronger than 100% Dante. 100% Dante would be over 100 times stronger than base Dante in power. And base Dante is above a 50% Dark Disciple. The 50% Dark Disciples are 10 times stronger than the Spade Captain. Even the Spade Captain is a lot stronger than Zagred. I made a whole video on that topic for members only, but I'll keep my justification for that short. The narrative of the stage system is that stage zeros can fight devils stronger than Zagred pretty well, meaning that the Spade Captain would be at least equal to Zagred or high relative, though the anime canon makes it a lot higher than that. So keep in mind that the gap between multi-continental and planetary is many thousands of times, which works out because Demon Licht is multi-continental and Lucifero is many, many thousands of times stronger than him. But even the early series Fire Spirit Salamander can be considered multi-continental because of two statements. In the guidebook, it stated that it can evaporate an ocean, which would require multi-continental levels of energy. Its other statement is that it can burn over 1,000 Ri with its breath. 1 Ri is just under 4 kilometers, meaning that it can burn nearly 4,000 kilometers of land with just a sigh. To create fire of this size has been calculated to be an energy level of multi-continental. I will provide the calculations below in the description, as well as the credit to those who have made the calculation. But anyways, the guidebook is providing exact measurements, which makes the guidebook feats of the salamander even more consistent, because it's not just a vague statement, it's because a blatant 1,000 Ri. And the salamander having two different feats that are both multi-continental in the guidebook would also ground its consistency. Another cause for support is Lolopechka. This is because her mana zone covers the entire country of the Heart Kingdom. Generally, mana zone users are only borrowing mana from a small area around them, like the size of a room. We know that the Clover Kingdom is at least well over 100 miles in width and length, and the Heart Kingdom is comparable in size, making it well above something like the state of Rhode Island, which is over 1,000 square miles. Whereas a mana zone user like Marioliona, who scales above the early series Salamander, has a mana zone of only like 5 or 10 feet around her, giving her about a 100 square foot mana zone. In comparison to Lolopechka's, which would likely be tens of thousands of square miles for a size of mana zone, making her many hundreds of thousands of times stronger than her, if not millions, giving her a range of moon level all the way up to large planetary, depending on the calculations for Lolopechka's mana zone. We have to think of mana and mana zone like a magical potion that increases power. Mana zone is simply taking in the mana that dwells in nature and applying it to yourself. This would be like if I drank a drop of a magical potion and it made me able to destroy tanks with a punch. By that logic, if I drank a water tower filled with the same contents of that potion, it would make me billions of times more powerful. And don't forget that the magic that Lolopechka is consuming is greater because the Heart Kingdom is considered a mana-dense country, while Marioliona uses mana zone in the Clover Kingdom. So yeah, Julius is planetary for being more powerful than 100% Lucifero. As for speed, a good quick way to scale it pretty high is to start with Magna. Magna has faster than light combat speeds. This is because he's able to keep up in a fight with Black Asta and Rufel in the Elf Arc. This Black Asta is vastly superior in speed to the base Asta, who was able to parry attacks from Elf Raya. Elf Raya being many times more powerful than the suppressed base Raya, who was equal in speed to Patri, that Patri who has several light speed statements. Now Magna gets over 25 times stronger in the middle of the time skip, as he gets this weird manic mana state once more. The light novel portrays the manic mana state as greater than a 25 times increase in power, as it allowed Magna to defeat 10 golems at 4% power, when prior he struggled to fight a single one at full power. This means that Magna in the middle of the time skip is greater than 25 times the speed of light. This is useful information as Spade Saga Magna is shown to have 500 times weaker magic power than 100% Dante. As I said, speed and power are correlated in Black Clover. This would make Dante at full devil power over 12,500 times the speed of light. The twin devils are each a bit stronger than the 100% triad and are more than 2 times more powerful when fused, making them 25,000 times the speed of light, and Lucifero is considerably more powerful than the fused twin devils. Lucifero would get over 2 times faster as he parried his own doubled magic redirected at him, making him 50,000 times faster than light. And 100% Lucifero would be more than 2 times above that, placing 100% Lucifero at over 100,000 times the speed of light, and Julius scales above that. Since magic power is causally linked between speed, attack potency, and durability, Julius is planetary in attack potency and durability, and he is 100,000 times the speed of light, and his reactions would also be well above his regular combat speed, as he literally senses the flow of mana from the future to anticipate what is coming at him next. His hacks-based time beams would also scale above his regular attack potency, as his time magic literally steals time from his enemies and is a form of durability negation. His chronostasis time orbs not only stop time around an opponent, but also completely nullifies their magic power. And if he actually captures a spell, he can launch it back at the user at double the speed, as stated in the guidebook. And whether this is based on his time attribute or his sheer power, Julius has resistance to pocket realms. He was trapped inside of the space that resided in the golem's brain that acted as a magical storage space, and he was able to break out of it. So even if, say, someone was going to trap Julius in a pocket realm, he'd likely be able to just break out of it. And not only that, but Julius's hacks does have a form of resistance to healing, as his time hacks made it so that it took days for Pottery's hand to heal, despite other wounds being healed near instantly with Phoenix Robe prior. So yeah, it's kind of crazy that the low-end power scale for Julius is planetary and over 100,000 times the speed of light. But let's go on to the middle end for Julius. This scaling derives from Dorothy's impressive ability to create spaces that hold several stars. Actually, I would consider that many stars, but whatever. You can see the stars within the sky of her realm, and just like how I mentioned the moon creation feat prior, we know that what she imagines in her mind, the real versions are created within the glamour world. Since Dorothy created many stars, this puts her and anyone who scales to her or above her as multi-solar system level. We know that her personal power would scale to this because Glamour World is destroyed, and yet she recreated it multiple times. Also, her dreams plus Reeve's dreams were enough to shatter the realm itself, meaning that Dorothy scales relative to her own realm, which is at least a multi-solar system sized realm. Now, even if you don't want to agree that Dorothy scales to Glamour World, it doesn't really matter because Yami does. Yami would destroy Glamour World nearly instantly with Dimension Slash Equinox. I know that Dimension Slash is hacks itself, but Yami's own power would surpass his hacks in the Spade Saga, as Death Thrust is literally just Yami's pure condensed magic power. It's not hacks, and yet by his own admission, Death Thrust surpassed Dimension Slash both in power and speed, as Dimension Slash would fail against 80% Dante, and yet Death Thrust worked, meaning that the power contained within Death Thrust is greater than multi-solar system level in attack potency. As for speed, since in our world even the closest star is over 4 light years away, you'd need to be millions of times faster than light to reach it in a single second. And like I said, Yami destroyed this multi-solar system-sized realm pretty much instantly, in like a second or two, or maybe even less, since time passes far slower comparatively when you're fighting at faster than light speeds. Since there are many stars, and there are also stars that are likely far greater away than just 4 light years, and with Yami collapsing the realm near instantly, he'd likely be well over billions of times faster than light, and Julius scales well above this Yami. I don't want to go in depth on that scale of what exactly the exact quantification for that speed is, because it would make the video way too long, but still, multi-solar system level Julius and billions of times faster than light, watch out, Perfect Cell. This leads us to the high end for Julius, which is just a different interpretation of the Glamour World feats, as Luck considers Glamour World endless. The two primary definitions for endless are either infinite or seeming to have no end. Considering that Magna imagined Luck's statement as absurd or impossible, that would mean that Magna believed that he interpreted Luck's meaning for endless as the infinite meaning. And Reeve actually affirms that the Glamour World is infinite in size by saying that the impossible is possible in the Glamour World. That was her answer to Magna when Magna said that that would be impossible, meaning that the impossibility of something being infinite is actually possible in her world. Therefore, Dorothy can create infinite-sized realms, giving her high universal attack potency and durability, and anyone who scales to her is also high universal. Though, even if you disagree that this scales to her, the same Yami argument applies here. Dimension Slash destroyed an infinite realm, and the sheer power of Death Thrust surpassed it. Since Julius scales above Yami's Death Thrust power, Julius can be scaled to high universal, and the speed scaling would be infinite speed, since Yami could destroy an infinite world in finite time, and Dorothy actually reacted to and dodged this infinite speed slash. So yeah, the high end for Julius is high universal and infinite speed. These really are the 3 metas that I like for Julius. Even his low range is pretty potent, and his hacks are dope. Personally, I believe that all 3 of the metas are pretty sound. While I believe there is more evidence for planet level over multi-solar system and high universal, the mid and the high ends are far simpler arguments, thus they can often be easier argued in debates as they can be explained quickly and are supported by Occam's razor. I would not be surprised if these metas became more concrete though, as it's already a highly possible interpretation that Lucifero was actually going to destroy the physical universe, as that is what the human world is, as we see stars in the Clover world sky, and world can mean universe, but we'll get there when we get there. Just watch out for if Lucius ever tries to merge the human world, the underworld, and the afterlife together into one realm, thus likely making Julius or Lucius low multiversal in power. So yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. Julius is an absolute boss. Both inverse scaling, he's one of the strongest characters right now, and outverse, like I said, massively faster than light plus with planetary for his low end with some really good hacks and abilities and a good experience and reaction time. So yeah, Definitely a very interesting scale for him here. Thanks for all the support, guys. Please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. We're trying to get more likes than my last Julius power scaling video. That would be very much appreciated. Also, don't forget to check out the links down below. My Twitter, my Discord, my Webtoon. Thank you guys so much for the support. Peace out.